Fantasy stories open with Once Upon a Time. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, starts with what happens after happily ever after. The Demon King is already dead, the legendary hero's party has already saved the world, and the mage who helped them do it remembers everything, just not what any of it truly meant. But that's why Frieren is different. Frieren is one of the best fantasy anime we've gotten in years. It's a story about understanding a legend long after it ended. Let's check it out. Frieren Season 2 is a little over a month away, so in preparation, I decided to rewatch Season 1. I have to admit, it still hits just as hard as when I first watched it 2 years ago. 50 years after defeating the Demon King, the hero Himmel has grown older, while Frieren looks exactly the same. Watching a companion age, weaken, and slip away in what feels like an instant forces Frieren to confront something she's ignored for centuries: the emotional weight of time. For her, time passes in a blink, something that comes and goes across eras. But for Himmel, their decade together was the most meaningful chapter of his life. Frieren doesn't know it yet, but new companions will help her see that chapter in a completely different light. This time, her goal isn't victory, it's clarity. Season 1's success was unexpected, so unexpected that it's currently ranked number 1 on my anime list. I didn't think anything would ever beat FMA Brotherhood, but here we are. Which brings us to the real question. What made this fantasy anime stand out? It all starts with a story that already ended. Traditionally, fantasy stories begin with a call to adventure. A party forms, a quest begins, a world needs saving. Frieren skips straight to the credits. The age of heroics already happened. The series is about finally understanding it, decades too late. Instead of reliving the quest moment by moment, we experience it through memories that still linger. A field of flowers, stories people still tell, Frieren's fragmented, almost detached recollections. These flashbacks aren't nostalgia grabs. They're reframed memories Frieren is only now beginning to feel. Each look back with him on the others highlights the moments she overlooked, and how deeply they mattered to everyone around her. If you watch Frieren, who's your favorite character? And why is it Ubel? Fantasy's first step is often an info dump. Here's the magic system. Here's the map. Here's the ancient war. Frieren does the opposite. The setting feels ancient because Frieren feels ancient, conveyed not through exposition, but through lived-in details. Grimoires scattered across the continent, statues marked by time, a sword seeking its master. These elements simply exist, weathered and unbothered, as if the world keeps moving whether you catch up or not. Towns and roads don't pause to tell you their story, they just are. And then, without warning, something small, a throwaway comment, a familiar face, an old ring, hints at entire layers of history you'll never fully see. That restraint isn't a flaw, it's the point. And before we move on, the Frieren OST is incredible. Evan Call, the composer behind Violet Evergarden, strikes again. The man deserves a medal. My favorite song? Frieren the Slayer. Frieren recalls everything. Every spell she's studied, every road she's traveled, every battle she's survived. But remembering something and feeling its significance are two completely different things. Fun fact, the Frieren we know today almost didn't exist. When Kanehito Yamada first pitched the series back in 2019, it wasn't meant to be an introspective fantasy. It was supposed to be a lighthearted gag manga. No grief, no reflection, no emotional aftershocks. But as the concept evolved, so did its heart. The series unfolds across two timelines. The hero's party with Himmel, Hyder, and Eisen, and the current party with Fern, Stark, and Sign. Two paths, perfectly juxtaposed, each revealing something Frieren failed to grasp the first time around. One of the earliest examples appears in episode 4. During the original journey, Frieren overslept and missed the New Year's Sunrise Festival. Himmel said she would have loved it, but Frieren treated the morning like any other. Ordinary. Decades later, while retracing that same path, she finally sees the sunrise she once skipped. Frieren is famously not a morning person. She spends half the series napping like she's buffering between scenes, but Fern somehow drags her out of bed. And as Frieren stands beside her watching the dawn, it still doesn't feel special at first, but then she notices Fern's quiet smile, fully present, fully content. And just like that, Frieren remembers Himmel's words. He was right. He understood her better than she ever realized. Without Fern, she never would have had the chance to revisit the moment. This ebb and flow between past and present is what gives Frieren its emotional power, turning yesterday's memories into today's revelations. And that's exactly where Fern steps in. If memory ties Frieren to the past, Fern anchors her to the present. Frieren is far more than the apprentice mage archetype. She's Frieren's mirror, reflecting everything Frieren spent centuries drifting past. Daily routines, emotional responsibility, the weight of shared time. When Frieren drifts, Frieren feels. She keeps them fed, keeps them on schedule, and keeps their journey grounded in reality. If it weren't for Frieren, they'd probably still be searching for blue moonweed, or hanging out with old man Vol indefinitely. On the surface, it's the classic grumpy apprentice and sleepy master dynamic, but underneath, Frieren's presence is what brings humanity back into Frieren's life. Throughout the season, Frieren grows from a sheltered girl with a tragic past into a capable mage in her own right. Earlier I mentioned the connections between past and present in the series, and Frieren's growth being one instance of these. Up until now, Frieren has passed many things onto Frieren, but the climax shows Frieren achieving something by herself. Director, Keiichiro Saito. But for all her outward maturity, Frieren isn't above getting upset. She can be surprisingly childish when things don't go her way, pouting, sulking, or flat out kicking people who annoy her. And honestly, it's kind of endearing. Most of the time, all it takes to win her back is a small gesture, a good meal, a sincere effort, or giving her a moment to realize she might have been in the wrong. Frieren's humility is on full display when she passes the first class mage exam. She could have chosen any spell in the world from Zeria, and she chose a cleaning spell. If I think about it, it's not that bad. If Frieren is the mirror, Stark is the heartbeat. Before he joins, Frieren and Frieren feel like teacher and student. After he arrives, it finally feels like a true party. Stark panics, he talks himself up, then regrets it instantly. He might act like a coward, but when the moment truly matters, he rises to the moment. He bridges the emotional gap between Frieren and Frieren. Frieren is serious and responsible. Frieren is distant and introspective. Stark is warm, messy, and earnest, demonstrating that the bravest moments are often born from fear. Stark has an animated personality, but even he has moments of melancholy, stories of shame, like disappointing his father, failing his master, losing his brother. It's something he carries more than he lets on, but with the right people beside him, even those wounds feel lighter. Remember when I mentioned that Frieren was ranked number 1 on Mal? To reach that level, a series has to excel across every major category. This kind of broad success is often compared to what's known as a 4-quadrant movie, something that appeals to male and female audiences both below and above the age of 25. Studios often pursue 4-quadrant appeal because it guarantees reach, supports large budgets, and opens the door to massive profit. These projects often share a few key traits: universal themes, high concept premises, balanced content, mixed genres, and relatable characters. Madhouse may have aimed for these standards during development, and Frieren meets them with admirable consistency. If I had to place Frieren on a 4-quadrant graph, it would look something like this. Sign reluctantly joins the group thanks to Frieren's persistence and his brother's aggressive encouragement. He's older, sharper, and more world-weary than the rest. Smoking, drinking, gambling, and drawn to older women. A man after my own heart. Sign's a priest, but what defines him isn't faith. It's empathy. He reads people quietly, effortlessly, and there's something ironic in the fact that Frieren, who's lived hundreds of years, comes to him for guidance. He also serves as a mediator when Frieren and Stark have disagreements. Unlike the rest of the party, Sign only joins the group for one reason: to track down his long-lost friend, Guerrilla Warrior. I said what I said. I wish we got to see more of Sign in Season 1. It felt like he joined the party only to leave several episodes later. As much as I wanted to see him in Season 2, reports say Sign won't be showing up. The manga has quite a bit to cover before his return. At its heart, Frieren is a reflection on everything that lasts beyond the final triumph. It's a story about how emotional understanding develops over the years, how memories evolve into something far more meaningful. The world of Frieren doesn't raise its voice or explain itself. It simply waits for someone finally ready to listen. Frieren, Stark, and Sign help Frieren do that. Frieren giving her a place to land, Stark giving her a reason to smile, Sign guiding her toward the parts of the road she couldn't see on her own. Together they highlight the contrasts and parallels in Frieren's journey, placing both timelines in view, revealing a thread that ties the journey together only when they meet. That's why Frieren stands out. It's a fantasy where memory becomes a second chance, to feel what we missed, to appreciate what stayed, and to see that the most important things were there all along, waiting right in front of us. Thanks for watching, and as always, remember to save your progress, because some things only make sense when you look back.